Hi, everybody. This is Maya Good, and this is day 9 of Novel Prep Month. Before we get started, first, I'm not a published author yet, and I am not a writing teacher. I'm somebody who failed National Novel Writing Month multiple times, and eventually I gained enough skills to be able to finish National Novel Writing Month on a regular basis confidently. So what I'm hoping to do in these videos is to take you from initial idea all the way to feeling really confident and prepared for November. So let's review a little bit about what you did yesterday because today's assignment could be a little overwhelming if we don't break it down. So yesterday I had you really think and meditate on what each of your characters feel like. And we went over the, the opportunity naming our characters give us to learning more about our characters rather than just picking a name at random. So you should have names for your characters now, and you should also have a goal, something concrete that your character wants or needs to do, and what is standing in their way. So today what you're going to do is you're going to write a summary for each one of your characters. You're actually going to write two. So like you did with your book summary, your one sentence summary, for each one of your characters, I want you to summarize what happens to and what your character does throughout the book in one sentence. So it's not going to be everything that happens. It's not going to be super complex in details. What I want to know is what is your character's plot line in one sentence? Does your character learn how to come to grips with the history of their family? Does your character become, I don't know, become redeemed from their life of being a serial killer? What is the one thing that happens throughout the book that is that one sentence summary? And and then I want you to look at that summary and ask yourself, what is it that's going to change in this character throughout the course of the book? Because for every character in our books, it's really about change. It's about growth. The character at the beginning of the novel is not the same person that they are at the end of the novel. An example that everyone pretty much knows, Harry Potter. At the beginning of the first book, Harry Potter is he's frightened, he's alone, he doesn't feel like he has a family, he feels powerless, he doesn't know he's a wizard. At the end, he's developed friendships, he's developed some sort of internal strength, and he's discovered that he's a wizard. It, in each individual book, Harry Potter learns something and grows in some way. And throughout the series, Harry Potter grows in some way. So these arcs are what keep us reading. It's what makes the character interesting. Because much like every day I'm a different person because I'm learning something, our characters should be different people at the ends of our stories than they are at the beginning of our stories. So I want you to look at each one of your characters that you have on your short list and ask yourself, how does this character change in this book? Just really quick, one sentence. And then I want you to take a walk, go do something else, mull it over, and then come back with paper, not a computer, paper. I'm kind of, I think that there is a real benefit to putting pen to paper when you're really doing this kind of emotional work. You're going to come back with pen and paper and you're going to sit down for each one of your characters and you're going to write one paragraph. And that one paragraph is going to summarize your character's storyline for the book. So at the end, what you should have, you should have a name, you should have a little bit about what they want and what's standing in their way. You should have a one sentence summary of their plot line. You should have a one paragraph summary of their plot line. This is something that you don't want to rush. It is something that you're going to want to do for every single one of your characters. So later on down the line, when we start filling out these summaries more and you realize that you need to add characters, you're going to periodically go back to this step. And for each one of those characters, as if they are important enough to have a name, I want you to ask yourself, what is it they want? What is it that's standing in their way? How do they change? And what is the summary of their plot line in the book? Even if it seems like they're not an important character, they're there for a reason. And if they aren't there for a reason, then maybe you should think about whether or not they really need to be there. If they do need to be there, then you need to give them a reason. And this is what's going to make even your minor characters feel more fleshed out and not feel like stage sets. I hate it when you read a book and they have great main characters and then all the side characters feel like furniture. And that's what this step is really going to help avoid. We're going to come back to characters a couple times later on down the line. So definitely, as you write these, give yourself lots of room. If you're putting it in a notebook, do a character sketch, go a couple pages forward, do another one so that you have room to write in between the characters, because we're going to revisit these characters periodically. But I feel like this is a really interesting step because this is the first time you're really getting to know your side characters. I think most of us, unless you brainstormed from like completely cold, most of us have been dreaming about our characters before we ever sat down to write an outline. And you may know your main character very well, but these side characters, you may not know them at all. And this is your chance to really sit down and think this through and think, okay, if the side character is going to be here, I need to give them motivation. I need to give them a reason for living in this world. So that is your assignment today. I wish you luck. I'm going to put the link to how to write Snowflake method, both the book and the blog post. Randy Igmanson, I'm sure I'm butchering his name, he wrote a blog post outlining the Snowflake method before he wrote the book. I actually like the book quite a bit more. It's a silly read. Like, it's written like a story. It's kind of cheesy, but it goes much more in depth into these steps than the blog post does. But I'm gonna put a link to a blog post in the down bar so that you can refer back to it. And if you go back to this, what you're doing is part of step 3. You're not doing all of step 3. You already did some of step 3, but this is pretty much the other half of step 3. And as he says, it doesn't have to be perfect. We're going to go back over this so many times. It's not going to be perfect. So what you're doing is you're creating a skeleton. And then gradually we're going to hang an actual person onto the skeleton. So don't skimp out. Don't look at a character and say, oh, well, they're not a big deal. I don't need to give them a motivation. Everybody wants something. Even if it doesn't appear in the book, everybody wants something. And even if it's not going to, quote unquote, appear in the book, the fact that they want something is going to show in how they talk, how they move in the world, the choices they make. So these are important steps, even for your minor characters. Until next time, ciao.